Hi, everybody. So we're going to start talking today about our research summary, which is our fourth paper for English 050. I want to kind of tell you first, before I launch into this little lecture here, about where this kind of fits and why we're doing it and those kind of things. So as you guys all know, part of there's three things you have to pass for. Two out of three things that you have to pass 050. First, you have to take the writing proficiency, which is our last paper. It's our upcoming last paper. You will have 3 weeks of class time to work on that. You also have to take the final, which is proctored, as you all know. And the third thing is you have to get a C or above on your overall course grade. So any two of those three combinations, and I'll kind of go over that a little bit more as we get closer to the end of this semester. But the main thing I want to talk about here with this is with the writing proficiency. One of the components of the writing proficiency is to have integrate a source using both an in-text citation and having a works cited entry. And with our last paper, the OTC review, we worked on in-text citations. So with this one, it's this paper, the research summary, it's really about integrating outside information and creating a works cited entry. So we focused on the first part of that objective with the last paper. Now we're moving on to the second half of that objective. Okay, so the research summary. I want to kind of spend just a second talking about it and explaining what it is. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to pick a topic. You're going to find 3 sources about that topic. And you're going to first summarize each source, and then you're also going to tell me why the source is credible. So generally, this paper ends up being about 8 paragraphs. So introduction, and then summary of the first source, and tell me why it's credible. Summary of the second source, and then tell me why it's credible. Each of these is a paragraph, obviously. And then the third source, summary, and then tell me why that third source is credible, and then the conclusion. So we're going to start kind of talking a little bit about finding and evaluating sources. So let's get started with that. So 3 big things you're going to learn about today. First, you're going to understand what the difference is between popular and scholarly sources. I'll get to that in a second. You're going to learn about the CRAP test for evaluating sources. It's a really quick little test that you can do to see if it's a good source or not. And then we're going to talk about some resources for finding sources. Okay. So first things first, we got a popular source. Popular sources are stuff that you probably get your general news from if you read anything on the internet. So stuff like CNN, Time, Newsweek. My personal favorite is New York Times. I like looking at those articles. So they're written for a general audience, usually written by journalists or some sort of professional writers, and it's just general publications. Scholarly sources are written by professionals in the field. So these can be like theorists, doctors, professors, those kind of things, and they're written for a specific audience within that profession. If you any field that you are thinking about going into, there is a journal for it, and those you can access those journals through the library databases, which I'll show you here towards the end of the video, so you'll be able to see those. There's another one called Google Scholar, which I'll also show you too. Okay, so some things you can kind of keep in mind. For this research summary, you can either use popular or scholarly sources. If it's a relatively recent development, usually popular sources are the way to go because maybe there hasn't been any sort of scholarly source published about it. However, if your instructor, and now I'm speaking about like another class, if your instructor specifically asks for a scholarly source, then follow that instructor's directions and use a scholarly source. And many effective papers will use some sort of combination of both. So that's something you can kind of keep in mind. So you guys are a pretty smart bunch of people. I think that you know that not everything that's printed is true, and definitely not everything on the internet is true. So you want to be sure to figure out, is this a good source? Should I use it? Is this from a legit source here? And that's what this CRAP test is for. It's an acronym, and it stands for Currency, Reliability and Relevance, Authority, and Purpose and Point of View. If you can find most of the information on the CRAP test, if you can find out most of these things, then it's likely going to be okay to use. I've posted a handout called the CRAP test, also called the CRAP test, on Blackboard, so you can see that, and you can also look at that as well. Okay. So the first thing you want to look at is currency, like when was it published? That's generally what that means. On most web sources, it's going to be somewhere underneath the title of the article. Sometimes it's kind of small or in like a little fainter print, so you have to kind of look at it. You can also look at when the source was last updated. Those are big things that you want to look at. It also kind of depends on your topic as well. For example, if you're writing a paper about computers in classrooms and online education, a source from 1994 is not going to cut it because things were much different, especially in terms of computers in classrooms then. However, if you're writing a paper about Edgar Allan Poe and the source is from 1994, that's going to be okay because he's been dead a while. So I think that's a safe source to use. And so that topic's not going to change a whole lot. Relevance and reliability, like how related to this is your topic? So for example, on the assignment sheet I mentioned Occupy Wall Street. If you were thinking about writing about Occupy Wall Street, let's say you even narrow it down to talk about how Occupy Wall Street uses social networking, like Facebook and Twitter and those kind of things. If you find a source that discusses Occupy Wall Street's effectiveness at bringing about change, that's sort of related. It's about the same general topic, but it's not about your specific topic, so you might not want to use that. You want to find things that are pretty geared towards what you're trying to write about. One other thing, reliability, that you want to look at is the author bias. Are many sides of this issue represented? Does the author include outside sources? If the author doesn't include outside sources, like they don't, and I don't mean they have a works cited page, I mean, do they reference like other quotes or other people, or do they do some sort of interview with other people? All of those things mean using outside resources. So be sure that those two things can be found. Who wrote the source and what are his or her credentials? What institution did he or she attend? What other things have been published by this author? If you go in, on popular sources especially, if you go in, a lot of times you'll be able to link, like if you click on their name, it'll be linked to one of two things. Usually like a little blurb about the author, where he or she went to school, what their interests are, those kind of things. Or it'll either be that, or it will have a list of their other publications. So if, for example, you find a technology article written by Bob Smith, and you go in and click on his name, and Bob Smith has written a whole bunch of technology articles, that's going to be a good source. Most popular sources like New York Times or any sort of journal, any sort of newswire or anything like that, usually have a team dedicated towards each thing. So there's usually a team dedicated towards technology, a team of people that write politics, a team of people that write about global events. So you can kind of see that they have some authority on that. Okay. So purpose and point of view, what was the reason it was written? Was it to persuade or to sell you something? Persuasive writing will generally only focus on one side of the issue. So that's something that you want to kind of be a little aware of. What's the domain name? Is it .edu, .gov, etc.? The only ones you kind of need to be a little bit careful with are .coms, because those can be published by businesses, and obviously businesses are going to have a little bit of a bias because they're trying to sell a product or an idea. Sometimes, again, with .orgs, you need to be a little careful, but most .edus and .govs are going to be okay. What ads appear on the site? How are the ads related to the topic? Now, obviously, you guys have all probably figured out that if you looked at a certain item, that now, from now until eternity, that item is going to appear on every web page that you open. I don't mean that kind of thing. I mean, do they try to sell you, is there a link to like go buy this now or something like that within the article? That's not what that's what I mean there. Not just the ads of like, I looked at this pair of shoes one time and now I see them on every web page. First person, using this is kind of talking about point of view here. First person, that means using I, me, my, we. These tend to be focused on persuasive writing and one person's opinion, while third person writing tends to be a little bit more general and biased. Third person means like he, she, it, proper name, those kind of things. So that will mean that it's usually a little bit more formal writing and unbiased. Okay. I'm going to show you some of this stuff later. Library databases are one way to find sources, Google Scholar or Advanced Search. A little trick you can also do is you can use Wikipedia to find sources, but you can't actually quote Wikipedia itself. I'll show you that in a little bit. Online newswires as well. Some popular blogs you can use, like for example, if you're doing a technology piece and you're reading a blog published by Wired magazine, that's going to be fine. You just don't want to go find like random dude's blog. You don't want to go look at those kind of things. Main thing is you want to avoid looking like that guy down in the lower right hand corner. Don't want to do that. So let's continue recording, obviously, because I'm going to show you a couple things. Let's get out of this. Okay, so this should look familiar to you guys because it is your OTC when you sign in. If you click on the Resources tab, excuse me, click on the Resources tab. This one right here called Academic Search Elite, I think is a really pretty overall good resource to find. So we're going to continue searching about Occupy Wall Street because I've already used it as my example. Okay. So, one thing I want to quickly note here, be sure you click full text there and then hit update, because if you don't, it won't give you stuff that you can find the whole thing. So, I said that my focus topic was going to be how Occupy Wall Street uses social networking, digital evolution of Occupy Wall Street. That might be a good thing to do. So if you click PDF full text, this is going to take forever to open, but when I guess I didn't. It's going to take a while to open, but when it does, it'll show you the full thing. And then you can also, there it goes finally. You can see the whole thing. A lot of times too, scholarly articles will have like a little abstract. That's kind of like a one paragraph summary that you can look at to kind of figure out if you want to proceed and actually read the whole thing or not. So that's something you can do. You can also hit this little thing that says add to folder, and then it'll always be up there in your folder and you don't have to search for it again. So that's kind of nice. That might be something I could use. Okay. I said that you could use Wikipedia. Here's a Wikipedia page for Occupy Wall Street. Let's skip this stuff and scroll down to, let's see. I'm kind of just scrolling through here. Let's see. New tactic is a powerful past. Oh, here we go. Occupy Wall Street's media team. Columbia Journalism's review. That might be interesting. We got to add here. Let's get rid of that, though. That could be something that we could use. That was published in October 7th, 2011. That could be something that we could look at. That could be interesting. So that might be, and it's got more than one page there, so that might be something that we could use if I was going to continue to write this. Also, if you go over here, this is just like a regular Newswire, New York Times, that would work. Go up here to the search up here, and I did this earlier and it took a while to open, so there we go. So I have it open here. You can kind of see, again, look at all these articles that you might be able to do, and you can also do, if I even wanted to do stuff within the past 30 days, I could do that. And let's say I didn't want any of the videos or blogs, I could just click articles. So that's kind of nice as well. That's a nice thing to do. Obviously you've got plain old Google, which let's see what happens if I just do that. So we get obviously the Wikipedia page, we get their organization, we get a couple news things. That's interesting. That could all be good. But let's say you want some better sources. Go over here, go to more, go to even more. My internet's running a little slow today. Probably because I have all these tabs open. Go down here to Scholar. And you can search again. See what you find. You can also set a custom date range over here, so that's nice as well. And you can also sometimes pull up the whole thing. So that's Occupy Online, Facebook, and the spread of Occupy Wall Street. That could be interesting. That might be something that I would want to look at. So you can kind of see where I'm going with that. That's all stuff that you can do. Those are all sources that you can kind of look through. So start kind of perusing. I'll be honest with you, not everything that you look at is going to actually make it into your paper. So it's okay if you look at a bunch of stuff and you don't end up using some of it. That's totally fine. That's really common, actually. So don't hesitate to throw out a source because you don't think it's going to work. That's fine. So if you have questions about this or anything else, don't forget to email me at youngj at otc.edu. That's my email. And through the open forum discussion board. And don't forget, you can ask anonymous questions. So if you're hesitant to do that, you can. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a great